Thanks, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on your time zone. Thanks, everyone, for joining us here today as the American Athletic Conference welcomes 6 universities to its membership. Some quick matters of protocol before we turn it over to our speakers. Our format will be, we'll take opening remarks first from Commissioner Mike Aresco, followed by each of our 6 athletic directors who are joining us. After that, we'll take as many questions from the media as we can in the time that we have. As a courtesy, we ask for members of the media, please list your name and media outlet in your displayed name so that we know who you are and who you're representing. And if you'd like to ask a question of any of the speakers following the opening remarks, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. As you probably saw coming in, this session is being recorded. If you would like local recording access and don't have it, let me know in the chat and I'll try to get that for you in short order. And with that, we will turn the floor over to the Commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, Mike Aresco.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate what you've done to organize this. First of all, I am extremely pleased, obviously, to be here and to welcome the members of the media and special guests on what is a great day for the American Athletic Conference. And I hope you've all had a good morning. And we obviously have the athletic directors of the 6 schools that we are welcoming into the conference with us, and you'll hear from them. I first want to thank Mike Fitz, who is the president of Tulane University, who's the chair of our conference, very instrumental in seeing this through. And I also want to thank Michael Kelly, who is the chair of our AD group, for all his work on this. We have a great group of presidents and athletic directors, and I've gotten to know some of the presidents and athletic directors at our new schools. Some I already knew. And we're just really happy, and we want to issue the warmest of welcomes. I'll be brief in my remarks because we do have a number of speakers today, and I want to make sure that we have enough time for any questions that you might have. And as I said, I'm thrilled to officially welcome 6 great universities to the American Athletic Conference. As we studied expansion, we heard from a number of schools who expressed interest in joining the conference, who saw the success that our members have had in this conference over the first 9 years, and they wanted to be part of what is a promising future. But as that process played out, it became clear that we had a great opportunity to shape the long-term future by adding schools that not only share our philosophy of competition at the highest level, but have shown that they are willing to make the necessary investments to do so. And that is really critical. And they have a lot of other things that make them special, but these were some of the key factors. And again, before we get to the question and answer part of this, I want to mention the universities and the presidents, chancellors, and athletic directors. I want you to know them by name. And again, I applaud their hard work, and I really appreciate their interest in our conference. The University of Alabama at Birmingham, President Ray Watts, and Athletic Director Mark Ingram. Florida Atlantic University, President John Kelly, Athletic Director Brian White. The University of North Carolina at Charlotte, Chancellor Sharon Gaber, and Athletic Director Mike Hill. The University of North Texas, President Neil Smatresk, and Athletic Director Ren Baker. Rice University, President David Lebron, and Athletic Director Joe Carlgard. University of Texas at San Antonio, President Taylor Amy, and Athletic Director Lisa Campos. Again, a warm welcome to all of you. These institutions very much want the opportunity that our conference will provide. They'll enjoy the unmatched exposure and promotion provided by our outstanding media partner, ESPN. And that has been critical to our growth over the years. And they'll also enjoy network basketball broadcasts as well on CBS Sports. They do some select network broadcasts, and they're another valued partner. These schools make great sense for us from many different perspectives. A geographical sense, clearly, by virtue of their location in major cities that add to our extensive media footprint. We'll have a significant presence in 4 of the top 10, 7 of the top 25, and 12 of the top 51 media markets. And we've seen firsthand in cities like Philadelphia, Dallas, Houston, and Memphis, the kind of impact that occurs when a city gets behind our teams and when you get the media attention that these metropolitan areas and the surrounding areas provide. The geography makes sense from a practical standpoint as well. In all of our sports, our schools will find conference opponents in close proximity, with 4 schools in the state of Texas, 2 each in Florida and North Carolina, as well as other areas in the Northeast and Mid-South. We look forward to the renewal of some longstanding rivalries and the development of new rivalries. And we've done very well with the development of new rivalries. You've seen that in our conference. Schools that may not have had a lot in common or played each other before develop some really intense rivalries and some great, cooperation in our conference. That's what we've been about. Again, we think that there'll be great interest among the student athletes, alumni, and fans. We think the fan bases of these schools will be energized. And obviously, we're very pleased that we have such a strong presence in such key states as well. I'm very confident that individually and collectively, these schools are going to have great success in the American. They have had success where they've been, and now I think they have a chance to elevate that. They'll add to this conference's legacy of success. I think they will definitely, as I mentioned, take great advantage of the exposure and the platforms that are going to be provided by this conference. So we look forward down the road, and we're not certain when they're going to come in yet. That's still to be decided. They are now, officially members of our conference, but they cannot begin play right away. But we look forward down the road. We know we'll be celebrating the success of these schools and all 15 of our programs. We're poised to enter the next decade now with a vision and with renewed strength. Our A6 campaign, Autonomy 6 campaign, our Power 6 campaign is going to be energized. It's not going away. And I want that to be really clear. The future is very bright. We feel that this conference can reach heights that we haven't reached before, even though we have done extremely well. We think that we can even take it to another level. I want to close by congratulating and welcoming our new members. We're just absolutely thrilled that you're with us. And I want to thank the media and our fans for their interest in us. And we'll now go, Chuck, I'm going to send it back to you because I know we want to hear from our individual ADs, and then we'll open it up to questions. Thank you.
Indeed. Thanks, Mike. And we'll begin with our ADs. We'll begin with the Associate Vice President and Director of Athletics for the University of Alabama at Birmingham, Mr. Mark Ingram. Mark, go right ahead. We'll take some opening remarks from you, please.
Chuck, thank you very much. And Commissioner Aresco, thank you as well, and to your board of directors. Certainly, we're grateful for the opportunity and thrilled to be joining with the other 5 members who you've mentioned this morning, all great colleagues of ours and people we have a tremendous amount of respect for. I want to thank our president, Ray Watts, our chancellor, St. John, and our board of trustees who have been so incredibly supportive of all the work that we've done. We've had tremendous success here in Birmingham with our community, our community leaders, our city, our county. It's just been a fantastic renaissance here in the city of Birmingham, and we could not have done it without so many people behind us and supporting us. As you know, we have built or renovated 23 facilities in the last 6.5 years, culminating in our most recent project, which is Protective Stadium, where we now play football in what we consider to be the finest college football stadium in America. And so we're thrilled about the partnership and the opportunity to compete as an A6 member and join you, Mike. And so thank you again, and to your board of directors. We have had a plan to be successful, and we've told our student athletes many times that our intention is to provide the experience that they are receiving in athletics and have that match what they are getting in the classroom at UAB. And it's a fantastic institution, a world-class medical research university, and one that we're very proud of, and the city of Birmingham is proud of. So we appreciate this opportunity, and thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We'll go next to the Director of Athletics at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, Mr. Mike Hill.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. And again, to echo Mark's remarks, it's wonderful to join our 5 colleagues here who have so much respect for. This is an exciting time for our institution. and for our athletic program. And on behalf of our chancellor, Dr. Sharon Gaber, and the chair of our board, Susan DeVore, we just want to thank everyone who was involved in this process. We're grateful certainly to Commissioner Mike Aresco. Mike and I have known each other for a long, long time, back to our days when I was in the SEC at the University of Florida, and he was at CBS. And I've always admired the job that he has done and this league has done in constructing itself in a way that has been a major player on the competitive landscape, no question about it. So we're thankful for this opportunity. Charlotte is one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and this university mirrors our city. We talk about it a lot as an emerging brand in an exploding market. Our university is now the third largest in the state, second largest undergraduate enrollment. And during the pandemic, we have set enrollment records. We've had record freshman classes the last 2 years. We have over 30,000 students now. 80,000 alumni live within an hour of the city, and 150,000 living alumni. So this is an institution that is on the rise. It's the fastest growing in the state. Over the past decade, it's been responsible for almost 40% of the entire UNC system growth and enrollment. So we feel that our athletic program is mirroring the growth of our institution academically and represents all that this place is about. We talk often here at Charlotte about gold being the standard. We're 49ers, and gold is a standard here. And we feel that this affiliation with the American is certainly going to elevate our program and provide a platform for us that we can really tell our story and allow our student athletes to compete at the highest level. And we're just grateful for that opportunity. So thank you again for the opportunity here, and we look forward to answering questions later in this session.
Thank you, Mike. We'll go next now to the Vice President and Director of Athletics at Florida Atlantic University, Mr. Brian White. Brian, go right ahead.
Thank you very much. I will echo the themes of my prior two colleagues. It seems like a theme of gratitude and excitement. So that's where we are. I have more than a few thank yous to run through here. First, I want to thank the president and athletic directors in the American Athletic Conference, as well as Commissioner Mike Aresco. Also, there are many that have contributed to our success at Florida Atlantic that have gotten us to this point. I want to start with our president, Dr. Kelly, our board of trustees, both current and former board of trustees members. We have an incredibly engaged, great board of trustees that really helps this university and helped us get to where we are. We have an extremely generous donor base, and want to thank our donors and our community, the Paradise community, specifically the Schmidt family. Our current athletic coaches and staff. We have a great team at Florida Atlantic. I don't think I'd trade our group of coaches for any in the country. So just very grateful for the people we have on our staff, but also our prior coaches and staff. It's been we've built something special here at Florida Atlantic that we're all very proud of. And there's a lot of people that led into that. So I want to recognize my predecessor, Pat Chun, as well as Blaine Kiffin, and most importantly, Coach Howard Schnellenberger built this program with very, very high ambitions. And I think ambition is something that is a theme here at Florida Atlantic University. There's many more that I'm sure I'm not going to get to, but then I want to transition to congratulate my fellow colleagues on this call. I know, as Mark mentioned, well, we all have a ton of respect for one another, and I'm just thrilled to know all of you. So congrats to my fellow colleagues, and like others have said, this is a tremendous opportunity for FAU for a number of reasons. In particular, I think what excites us most is we take very seriously. We all use the term front porch for athletics departments to be the front porch of the university and continue to help the university grow and be great. And we see the brand exposure within the American Athletic Conference as being a tremendous opportunity for an ever improving university, but also the academic profiles of the institutions in this league is something that's very exciting for us. Next, I would just say that, we are, FAU has a laundry list of things that I could read off to show how great of an institution we have become. I will just say that we have, by many metrics, we are the fastest improving university in the country, and we are the most diverse university in the state of Florida. We have one of the largest colleges of business in the state of Florida. We have a tremendous wealth amount of this community. I hear anecdotally, as many billionaires as any place in the world per capita. It's a really special place to be, and we are, like I heard Mike Hill say at Charlotte, our university is growing with our community and our athletic department as well, and vastly improving. We've had 2 conference championships in the last 4 years on a football front. We also have a very fertile recruiting ground. So we definitely think that we have a lot to bring to the table as well. But most importantly, we're just incredibly grateful to be on the call and very excited about this incredible opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We'll go next to the Vice President, Director of Athletics from the University of North Texas, Mr. Ren Baker. Ren, go right ahead, please.
Thank you. And on behalf of President Smatras, let me just say this is an exciting time for the University of North Texas. UNT has been on a continuous growth trajectory, and this is another step in that process. We are experiencing academic growth, over 42,000 students, which is up 4% just this year. And we're one of the top largest public research institutions, R1 institutions in the country. We've also had tremendous athletic growth. 4 of our top 5 years in terms of winning percentage, when you look at all of our sports, have occurred just in the last 5 years. So we believe this is a great opportunity to join the American Athletic Conference, which clearly has established itself as a Power 6 conference. And we're so grateful to Commissioner Aresco and to the ADs and the board of directors in the American for extending the invitation and giving us this opportunity. The American Athletic Conference is showing that it wants to invest in institutions who are willing to invest in themselves. And that is something we've prioritized at North Texas, and it's something that we'll be prioritizing as we make this transition. Lastly, just let me say I'm thankful to our donors and our fans. They've been so instrumental in helping UNT increase its profile in recent years. And we can't wait to start to make the transition, get a timeline established, and make sure that not only are we coming into a league with many accomplishments behind us, but that we have a transition plan that's going to allow us to come in and be immediately competitive and contribute to the history of success that's been established.
Thank you, Ren. We'll go next to the Director of Athletics, Recreation, and Lifetime Fitness at Rice University, Mr. Joel Karlgaard. Joel, go right ahead, please.
Thanks, Chuck, and it's great to be here with everybody today. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. Today is a great day for Rice Athletics. Since the breakup of the Southwest Conference 25 years ago, we've aspired to align ourselves with other institutions based on academic values, geography, and tradition. And the opportunity to join the American Athletic Conference checks all 3 boxes. We couldn't be more excited to join the current and new members, both in competition and collaboration. The future is indeed very bright. I'd like to thank a few people for their contributions to today's historic announcement. From Rice, our president, David Lebron, whose engagement in this process and commitment to supporting our aspirations helped make this possible. The chair of our board of trustees, Rob Ladd, who communicated his excitement for our future to the conference leadership, and indeed our entire board of trustees and our athletics advisory group who played a significant role in this as well. Our staff, our student athletes, our supporters who have worked every day to put us in position to accept this invitation. We are the 17th ranked institution in the country, according to US News and World Report. We're a member of the Association of American Universities. We have one of the largest endowments in college athletics in FBS. And we've won 25 conference championships across 12 different sports over the last 8 years. So we think we bring a really well-rounded profile to the American Athletic Conference and will fit very well with the other 13 members. And then from the American Athletic Conference, I'd like to really thank Commissioner Aresco and his staff for their enthusiastic support and great communication all of the athletic directors from the current AAC and those here with me today, I thank you for your commitment to excellence. And we look forward to working with you to build upon the terrific reputation of this conference.
Thank you, Joe. And finally, to get us started with the formal presentation, the Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics from the University of Texas at San Antonio, Dr. Lisa Campos. Lisa, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I don't know if it's easier or hardest to go last, but want to echo the sentiments. Today is a great day, and we could not be more happy to be celebrating this wonderful news today. Like the others, I would like to take an opportunity to thank Dr. Amy, the UTSA president, for his unwavering support of UTSA athletics and really understanding the importance of athletics and what it can do to an institution. Also want to acknowledge our athletic staff, our coaches, and especially our over 350 student athletes who have really believed that UTSA will be San Antonio's nationally recognized Division I program, and they continue to work very hard day in and day out to make that a reality. As you can imagine, this has been a very exciting and busy development. And like the others, would like to recognize and thank Commissioner Mike Aresco for the way you've led this, for the way you've communicated through this. It's been great getting to know you and look forward to working with you, the rest of the staff at the American and the other ADs. Since I arrived at UTSA almost 4 years ago, I recognized that we were something very special was happening, not only with athletics, but also with the university. We are a very young institution and we are a very young athletics program, but we have accomplished much. Let's just take a look at our football program that is only 11 years old. We've appeared in 2 bowl games. We are ranked 24th in the nation. So just imagine what the next 11 years will look like for UTSA. We share with the American our bold strategy for improving our athletic facilities, beginning with our $40.5 million Athletic Center of Excellence that we just opened in August, and there's definitely more to come. Just like the others, we're really excited for the opportunity that by joining the American, we will continue to raise our academic and athletic profile while continuing to build a strong national brand. Of course, through the television agreement, we will increase our visibility and our exposure. And it was really important to maintain a strong presence in Texas, where most of our alumni reside and where we not just recruit student athletes, but also recruit the general student population. I do want to just mention briefly a little bit about UTSA as an institution. We are committed to excelling in all that we do. And the aspects of our growth and momentum match what's happening with the rest of the institution. We just recently launched our largest comprehensive campaign in program history. We are a very proud Hispanic serving institution where we recruit dreamers and doers ready to change the world. And as San Antonio's largest university in the 2nd largest city in Texas, we are home to over 35,000 students. We look forward to welcoming our new partners to San Antonio, which is Military City, USA, and is very much known as an NCAA championship city. So again, thank you so much to Mike and to the board for recognizing and believing in UTSA and the value that it will bring to the American Athletic Conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. We'll go now down to the question and answer portion of the program. Again,
Chuck, can I interrupt for just a quick second?
of course. Yeah.
Before we get to the questions, and we will get to them right away, I just want to say, it has been great getting to know these athletic directors. They are truly outstanding. And you saw from their presentations, what quality people we're dealing with, as well as their presidents and chancellors. And I couldn't be more pleased to have them joining us. Just wanted to say that before we get started, because again, in my introductory remarks, I did reference them and how how much we had done together, but they have been just absolutely terrific. And this is not an easy process, as you know, and they've done a fine job. And you can just tell what outstanding people we're going to be dealing with and their institutions as well. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Chuck.
Sure. Okay, we'll open it up to questions now. Again, use the raise hand feature in Zoom to join the queue. Again, very helpful if you would include your name and your media outlet in your displayed name. We'll get started with questions with Ralph Russo from the Associated Press, please.
Thanks, Chuck. I guess I'll go to Mike for this.
I've lost you, Ralph.
I know it's not necessarily, I'm sorry, can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah, you broke up a little bit there. I can hear you now, Ralph.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I know it's not always something you want to do is talk about money. If I can jump into the television contract, there's been some discussion about the value of that contract going forward with subtractions and additions. Can you give us any idea about how this move affects and the previous move of losing teams affects your TV deal with ESPN?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the short answer to that, Ralph, is no, I can't. But I can say this, we're engaging with ESPN. We'll deal, obviously downstream, with our media deal. I can say this, ESPN believes in the growth potential of this league. They've been a superb partner. I'm confident, that we'll be supported. I think some of the accounts in the media have been just, wrong. But on the other hand, I'm not going to get into that. But we have a long-term relationship, an existing deal in place with ESPN. They've been great partners, but I don't want to get into the financial details. We never do, but we will be able to support, obviously our expansion. And, as the late great Mike Slive used to say, and I've quoted him, many times, I'd like to leave it at that.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Ralph.
We'll take the next question, please, from Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports, please. Go ahead, Dennis.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for doing this, kind of piggybacking on Ralph. Will the incoming members receive an equal share of media revenue now or ever? And was that a consideration by the existing American presidents to expand to this point to 14 teams?
Dennis, I can't really get in. Again, I don't want to get into the financials, but I can say this, that, certainly as we bring schools in, ultimately, we want them to feel that they are fully integrated into the conference and that they are obviously full partners. Whatever we do, we've worked it out with the schools. We've worked it out very carefully. This is a considerable upgrade for them. I can't get into, other conferences have done it differently, as you know how this has been done over the years, but I'm not going to get into the specifics. That's the kind of information that really we would rather, keep confidential. I understand why it's of interest, to the media. I certainly do. And Dennis, I appreciate, your interest in you and Ralph and others who have, watched this closely and, understand the landscape very well.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go next to Chris Vanini from The Athletic, please.
Yeah, from Mike, I know early on you talked about adding 2 or 4. Why in the end did you want to go with 6?
Yeah, we thought a lot about that, Chris, and that's a really good question. We decided that there was strength in numbers. We also looked around and said, there are some schools that we might be interested in later on. Why not, think about taking them now, going to 14. It provides, greater inventory. These are schools that are worthy and I think can add a lot to the conference. We think that ultimately the footprint was enhanced, with 6. We didn't start out with the notion that we were going to 6. We could have gone 2, 4, 6, but we also wanted to strike a balance. We are now stronger in Texas than we were, but we also decided that we would move east, and that's really our footprint. And obviously having an additional presence in Florida, in North Carolina, our eastern and our south Midwest schools I think are very pleased with, the geographical balance, but they're also pleased with the institutions. Chris, it all comes down in the end to schools that you think will invest and not only will invest, but are rapidly growing. You heard some of the new institutions ADs talk about that, the growth of not only their schools, but the populations in their markets, their fan bases. And then also, we are a conference that's been in big markets. That's been really our DNA. And we are in rich recruiting areas, with growing population. We are in football hotbeds. We also want to be good in basketball. And we picked, these schools provide some very good basketball, men's and women's. We are in the right time zones in terms of maximum coverage on TV and in other media. We pay our coaches well, and that's helped us, really achieve a lot. These institutions are doing that, are willing to do that. Our schools have benefited from the transfer portal, and we think that the new schools will as well. That's a new world that's opening up for all of us, and we have to deal with that. But when you're in the areas we are, where there are fertile recruiting, where there's fertile recruiting and other things, it's really beneficial for the conference. But the last thing I'll say is our DNA, Chris, has always been aspirational. We take enormous pride in what we've accomplished. 9 years ago, a lot of people didn't give us much of a chance to be a force in college athletics, and look what we've done. And we're going to do the same thing again. I mean, there's strong geographical cohesion. Also, this is a group that I believe will work very well with our current group. So, everybody obviously it'll be one family, and I think they're going to do what the others have done. Our schools invested. They worked hard. They took advantage of the great media exposure and promotion that is provided by ESPN and also in some of the network basketball we do with CBS. These are schools that will align very well with our current institutions. And so when we looked at that, we thought, okay, there are a few more that we'd really like to vet and to examine. And sure enough, we decided that 6 was the right number, and 14 is a good number, gives us strength going forward, gives us a lot of options in terms of how we schedule and how we do things. And that's pretty much, the analysis on that.
And do you plan to perhaps add more in the future, or is 14 as big as you want to go?
It's not completely out of the question. And I mentioned to the schools coming in, because we had a great transparent process. It really was. And we said, look, it's possible that we could add some schools down the road if in fact they would add value, if in fact they shared our philosophy, they fit our culture. If in fact that was the case, then we would consider them. But what I don't want to do is destabilize anything at this point. We've had a lot going on the last few weeks. As you know, we didn't start this, and it's snowballed a bit. And so consequently, it's probably better now to tamp it down. But I have to be honest and say, yes, we potentially, if schools showed interest in us, we are not going to be going out and tapping people on the shoulder and saying, oh, by the way, we've had interest, and we've had interest from schools. And if there's interest down the road from schools that make sense for us, then I think we would, we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we didn't consider it. Thank you, Chris.
We'll take the next question from, we'll take the next one from Joseph Hoyt from the Dallas Morning News, please.
Hey, Mike. Obviously with the current state of realignment, you talked about how these moves set you up for the next decade. I'm curious if I don't know if fear is the right word, but concern of other schools, being poached by other Power 5 conferences in your current conference is something you guys considered by adding 6 and the current schools you did add.
So am I worried about whether P5 schools would try to get our schools or other schools?
Yeah, were these moves part of did you consider that possibility when you chose these schools?
It's always a possibility, but we didn't dwell on that. We didn't worry about it. You can't, because in the end, these things can happen. But on the other hand, there is some value in size and in the geographical footprint that we now have. But in terms of what other conferences are going to do, we just don't get involved in that. You've never heard me really, other than to talk about our place in what we think the constellation of things is. And we've made obviously a big push on the P6 and on the Autonomy 6. But beyond that, I don't talk about other conferences. It's their business, what they do. There's always a possibility that there could be some additional expansion. Our goal is to make this a great conference and to make it a great home. Now, schools leave for various reasons, and the one thing you can't do is take it personally, Joseph. Just don't take it personally. This is the nature of colleges. It's been the nature of college athletics, unfortunately, for 40 years. Schools seek opportunity, and they seek a better position for themselves, and they should do that. And unfortunately, it leads to some realignment, and it's a hard thing. And by the way, this is not my first realignment rodeo. I've been through this. I've been on both ends of it. It's not fun. On the other hand, there are gratifying days like this when you can provide opportunity to schools that were very much seeking it, and schools that can add a lot to what we're doing and who can become great partners for all of us. So again, it's one of those things that you just can't, whatever happens down the road happens, but we'll be a strong conference regardless, whatever happens. And you want to make it the best home you possibly can make it for the schools. And by the way, last thing I'll say is, Cincinnati is doing, extremely well, and we're really proud of them. And the one thing, we've had great cordiality with the 3 schools that are leaving. It's been terrific. It's been a great relationship. They did a lot for us, and we did a lot for them. And Cincinnati, if, we don't know what's going to happen, but if they make the playoff or they do something remarkable, they will have done it in the American Athletic Conference. I mean, think about that. The American Athletic Conference was always a conference of opportunity. It was a challenger. It was aspirational. And that's why these schools fit that mold. And that's why I think they're going to be extremely happy in this conference. And I think they're going to thrive in this conference. Thank you.
We'll take the next question from Matt Stevens with the Charlotte Observer, please.
Hey, it's for Mike Hill in Charlotte. Mike, what does this move do for y'all's ability to help retain coaches, quality coaches? Also, how important is it to have finally a natural in-state rival you can play every year in East Carolina?
Matt, it's good to see you. That's great questions. I think that I'm going to answer your second question first. We're thrilled to be in a league with Carolina. Really appreciative of their support and all the support of all the institutions with our candidacy. But to have an in-state rival matters a lot. And we talked about sort of geographic proximity, and I believe Joe Carlgard mentioned that in his remarks about the different factors that you consider when you're looking at conference alignment. And for us to be situated in a league now with a great program like ECU matters a lot to our fan base. I think ECU is excited about it. They've got a tremendous fan base here in the city of Charlotte, alumni, et cetera. So that's really, really good for both institutions. And I think we look around the league again, there are a lot of schools in this league who we have previously been colleagues with, Memphis and South Florida and Tulane and others. And so it's a natural fit and really, really exciting for us. When it comes to retention of coaches, we've often talked here about the fact that, I want our coaches to be coveted because it means we're having success. And we're in that situation right now. We've had to fight some battles here over the last couple of years because of some of the hires that we've made in recent years, and excited about that. And so there's no doubt that their level of enthusiasm about our program and its future is exploding with this news, because they recognize the level of competition, the level of exposure that we will receive in a league like the American is like nothing we've experienced before. And so there's no question in my mind that being in this league is going to provide us with tremendous opportunity to retain our great coaches.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, we'll take the next one from John Talty from AL.com, please. John, go right ahead.
Sure, this is for the commissioner. Mike, I know you've already gotten a bunch of questions about realignment, but I'm curious how much work maybe went into these schools ahead of time? Did you have, the way some of the ADs on this call, might claim, like a list in your drawer of schools you might want to add should the time come? Or is this more of a direct reaction to the dominoes that started when the SEC added Texas and Oklahoma?
Is it John? Yes. Well, you always have to be prepared, and so consequently, if you're doing your due diligence, you have to know that should you want to expand down the road for whatever reason, that you'd like to know what the options are. And so over the years, we've always studied that. We try to do it quietly. It wasn't much fun going through that show 5 years ago, with our, but having said that, we kept the, the cohesion in the conference because, I wasn't critical of those schools. They were doing what, you would expect them to do in that circumstance. And so as I said, you can't personalize this. And, these are voluntary organizations. If people decide that they have a better opportunity or for whatever reason, want to go, they stay the required time, they pay their exit fee and they can move on. In our case, we're always aware of what, the options might be. And so, yes, we've compiled databases, we did, a thorough vetting process. We looked at whether, schools would fit with our philosophy. As I said, we have a certain philosophy in this league. This league has developed a certain way. 9 years ago, a lot of people doubted us because we didn't necessarily have some of the traditions of the so-called P5. But, I don't want people to miss the forest for the trees. What we're doing here is building for the long-term future. And yes, we knew which schools we thought we might have interest in, and some schools emerge. You've seen some of the schools we've admitted doing some remarkable things recently and showing a significant investment. And sometimes it's a matter of being in the right regions, obviously, but also unless you have that DNA that I referred to, unless you have that competitive desire, unless you have the commitment, unless you're willing to spend, and our schools did that. And some of them, strained, to do that. As we didn't have a very lucrative media contract at the very outset because we came out of the disarray of realignment, 8 or 9 years ago. And we immediately established ourselves as a really good conference. And people, I think, probably were a bit surprised, but we didn't have the big media deal, but then we got a much better one, with ESPN, and that promotion and that exposure really helped. The combination is the key. The combination of a commitment, a desire to improve, a desire to compete at the highest level, and then having two things. One, the exposure, the promotion that obviously a media partner like ESPN provides, and they've been absolutely terrific. And second, you have to promote your conference. We've promoted our conference. I promote it tirelessly. Our ADs, our presidents, we promote our conference. And I think, Glenn Tuckett, who's a great AD at BYU for many years, and he's a very good friend, he used to always say one of the sad things in life sometimes is success unattended. When you don't take advantage of your success and you don't promote your success. This conference has done that. And we'll do that with the new schools too. And I think they'll be very pleased with how we promote. And again, having a media partner with the best in the world with ESPN, and also having another media partner for some network basketball games, a great network, CBS. I worked at both networks. I have great fondness for both of them, and we couldn't have better partnerships, and that helps. And that's why I think it's so exciting to bring these schools in, because they haven't had this opportunity. They haven't had that kind of exposure, and now they're going to get it. And I think it's going to elevate their programs. And some, have had, some outstanding success. One of the real stories, and we're pleased to bring in all these schools, but the UAB story is particularly resonates because a few years ago their program was discontinued, and look what they've done. And what does that show? Well, it shows that their DNA is to compete. They've got a brand new stadium in the heart of Birmingham. They're in a location that loves, college sports, especially college football. And that's true of our other schools as well. And then as Joe Joe Carlgar has said, you have an institution like Rice, which adds another AAU school to our conference and has a long pedigree with the Southwest Conference. You've got a real mix here. If you look at it, Lisa talked about UTSA and the market they're in and the great growth and what the wonderful things they're doing for their community. And then you look at North Texas and the enormous investments they've made. They really have. And, again, Ren should be congratulated for that. And then again, as I mentioned, UAB, and you look at Charlotte and people might say, well, they haven't had, the kind of football success yet. Well, they're going to have it. There's no question about it. And in basketball, they already have a terrific pedigree and Mike's done a great job. And, you look at FAU and what they've done the last several years, they played a lot of our teams, and believe me, they've defeated a lot of our teams. And they've been, an important, presence in South Florida. We now have a partner, for USF in the state of Florida in an important market. We welcome Willie Taggart back to the conference. Again, it's really to have, this three schools looking eastward, and then to have three strong schools in Texas is a terrific balance for this conference. I don't think I left anyone out, but I want to make sure that I mention all of them because every one of them will bring something unique and valuable to this conference.
Thanks, Mike.
Welcome.
We'll go next to Brett Vito from the Denton Record Chronicle, please. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, a question for Commissioner Aresco. How big a factor was just the potential of some of these schools that you brought in as opposed to, current success? Was that a big factor, just, how much these schools had potential going forward?
No question. Absolutely. Potential means an awful lot because, we're a conference that wants to continue to grow and continue to improve and continue to be a real factor at the highest levels of college athletics and college football, as we all know, drives so much of this. And so we've obviously devoted a lot of time to making sure we had great programs in that area. But absolutely, potential is enormously important. But, potential is just that, it's potential. But what we feel strongly about is we're investing in the people we think have that vision, and we're convinced they do. And in getting to know them and in talking to them and going through this process, I'm more convinced than ever that, that they not only will make the investment, but they have the vision. And we didn't want anybody in this conference ultimately, and we talked to our ADs a lot, our current ADs and our current presidents over the years that didn't want to be at the highest level of college athletics. And some schools can't do it. You don't have the resources. These schools have the resources. We looked at that carefully. There's some schools that may have aspirations, but they really don't necessarily have the resources. One thing I always talked about with respect to the P5 is, you can't let your vision sort of, leap over reality, but our vision has been anchored in reality. You saw what we've done. When you look at what the Big 12 did, taking those three schools, right? And the Big 12 is now comprised of almost half their membership of the so-called non-power schools. We should have been a P6, a while ago. We always thought we were. Look at the competitive, we wrote an 8-page letter to the chairs of the P5 conferences not that long ago. And it was a letter that talked about all the great things we've done and all the reasons, all the competitive success we've had against the P5 and why we should be part of that. Well, the vision has been anchored in reality. I think these schools will embrace that vision. If they weren't willing to do it, then we would not have been interested in them. And every one of our schools has felt that, that was where we ought to be. We could easily have said, look, this whole G5 business, we'll just settle. We'll play at a certain level. That was never, again, as I mentioned, the DNA of this conference just wasn't. And from the very beginning, and remember, we had a lot of schools that were once in the old BCS, and now we have a school that's in the old Southwest Conference. We now have schools that, have had, recent success, and other schools that clearly are on the cusp of it. And so I just think that's really critical. It's clearly achievement matters, but clearly potential coupled, but it has to be coupled with that commitment. If you don't really feel the commitment's there, then, I doubt the potential's there either.
All right, thanks.
We'll take the next question from Reese Furlow with the Palm Beach Post, please. Reese, go right ahead.
Yeah, my question's for Brian White at FAU.
Yep.
Hey, Brian. I know you're still trying to figure some things out, but what does going to the AAC do for the FAU-FIU rivalry in the future?
Great question, and I thought it may come up. I actually had a great conversation with Pete Garcia earlier today, and he's a good colleague, and we would love to continue to play FIU and every sport and every sport we play every single year. So I definitely think that that's a historical rivalry that we have, and we will intend to continue to play from our end. And if they're willing to play us, we'd want to do that in every single sport we have.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the next one from Dan Tortora, please. wakeupcalldt.com.
First, for the commissioner, and then I'd like to hear from the incoming schools as well, the representatives. Just Mike, what was the most challenging part of this entire process? And if you can kind of break it down, how long you were kind of looking at these schools and just kind of the timeline for us. And then from each of the member schools from the outside looking in, why was the American the right fit for each of you? Why was this the right avenue to go to?
Thanks, Dan, and I appreciate, I've been on Dan's radio show a number of times, and I appreciate your interest in the league, Dan, and your knowledge of the league. Well, when you go through a process like this, one of your biggest concerns is leaks, because that gets, everybody riled up, and it causes all sorts of problems for a lot of reasons, obviously. This didn't, leak till the very end, and some of the reporters, who get the story, they're just doing their jobs, and they're really good at it. But that was one of the issues. We just didn't want to do this publicly, and I don't, there have been conferences who did it a lot more publicly, believe me, and we didn't want to do that. And we also wanted it to be a fairly compact process. As I said, we knew which schools might fit this, the culture and the philosophy of this conference, and might be good members. We knew which ones they were. We always had a fairly, short list, and occasionally schools are added to the list. Occasionally they drop off. And so you want to have these discussions only with schools that are interested in you. And these schools obviously were interested in us, but the key was to try to do it in a fairly expeditious way, and to try to do it seamlessly, to try to work through all the issues. Remember, you're dealing now with 6 schools, and they all have different views, of the world, even though it's a cohesive group. They have a lot in common, but everybody has their own individual issues. And so you have to obviously work through those, and that can take some time. But I think we really went 24/7 on this. We tried to do it quietly. And you mentioned, what made this the right fit. I've talked a little about that, obviously. I think, again, that we tend to be a conference that covers, big markets, and that is in, one of the benefits we've had is we've been in locations and places that really have fans and have media and have general population that's really interested in college sports, especially college football. Think about our current footprint, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and we'll retain Pennsylvania and Florida, Texas, of course. We have a huge presence in Texas, and we wanted to strengthen that presence in Texas, because that's a fulcrum kind of state. And so that's really important. And so schools that are large, that have, large student bodies for the most part, and we're willing to make an exception where we have Rice, for example, that's just such a high quality institution, and they've had a great tradition as well. We have Tulsa that, is a relatively small school, but has done really well, in athletics, has been a great partner. So we're not, we're not one dimensional, but, if you look at where we are, in places like Dallas and, in Tulsa, in San Antonio now, in Houston, we renew our presence in Houston, Birmingham, which you probably can't find a more intense place when it comes to football and college sports. And then obviously North Carolina, Charlotte, one of the growing cities in the country, probably the banking center of the country, with a great university there in UNC Charlotte. And then you look at East Carolina and the long tradition and history. I go way back with them. I programmed many of their football games at ESPN when there was no ESPN2, and almost all their games were televised on ESPN. That's how, great their tradition is. And then you have Temple in Philadelphia. You have the Naval Academy covering not only Baltimore, but the DC market, but the Naval Academy is a national institution. And then you have obviously USF in Tampa and now FAU in South Florida. And these are population centers. And the last thing I'll say, Dan, is they're all growing. These are all growth areas. We tend to skew a little bit south, obviously, and that's where the growth in the country, has been, whether it's Texas, which is growing, at an enormous rate. And our conference office is now in Texas. I've seen that, firsthand. And you look at our other, Florida is probably another state that probably ranks right there in terms of growth, and Tennessee, where Memphis is. And then obviously we have, you have a major city like Philadelphia, one of the largest in the country. So we're in places where if you have the resources and you have the commitment, you'll grow your programs. And that's what we're hoping that happens this time. In fact, that's what we frankly are very confident will happen. And thanks again go ahead.
I was going to call on Lisa Campos and Ren Baker maybe to take the second part of Dan's question, right, from the institutional side, if they care to answer there.
Great, appreciate that. So again, as I said in my opening remarks, having a strong Texas presence is very important to UTSA and having those rivalries. This is where we recruit our students generally for the university. So that was really important. Obviously, we want to expand our brand, our national profile, and we feel like this positions us to do that in alignment with what the rest of the university is doing in all the different divisions.
Yeah, this is Ren Baker at UNT. I know Mike's not talking and has told us not to talk financials, but he introduced himself every call as Mike Aresco, ambassador of Quand. And so we knew this is where we wanted to go. I joked there, but I think really it's that Power Six vision and the evidence of that Commissioner Aresco and the member institutions in some ways initially spoke into existence, but then invested at a level that backed it up. And we assume that financially there's going to be some benefits, but the bigger thing is the opportunity for exposure for athletic programs and for the university. The American has a great TV package with a lot of linear games, great TV partners. And I had a chance, I was at Memphis as the league started, and Memphis had not had, as they were exiting Conference USA, did not have the best football seasons in the world in our first year or so. In the American wasn't necessarily the best, but the University of Memphis has grown tremendously from the opportunity that the American provides. And as the deputy AD there, I had a chance to see that. And so for all of those reasons, we were always very interested and hopeful that an opportunity would come to get into the American, and we look forward to making that transition.
We have time for about 2 or 3 more. We'll go next to Pete Thamel from Yahoo Sports, please. Pete, go right ahead.
Yeah, this is a question for Mike from the macro. Mike, as leagues have evolved and TV contracts have evolved, there seems to have been a bit of a shift from big markets, like in the old Big East, for example, and when it was a basketball-only league, to now. I'm wondering if you can give us a little peek behind the curtain of how much of these additions were because they are big markets and how much are because they are football fertile places that, obviously you can plant seeds and grow.
Yeah, Pete, and Pete, I have to commend you. I mean, you did a lot of really, significant groundwork, and there's been a shift. I've been at ESPN. I was at ESPN and I was at CBS for many years, and I worked in college sports and other sports as well, but mainly college sports. And I love college sports. And I saw the shifts, I saw the changes, I saw the consolidations. I saw, that football started driving all of this. It may not have driven it as much 40 years ago, but it does now. We looked at several things. Again, as I said, Pete, it wasn't one dimensional. Just because you're in a big market doesn't necessarily guarantee that you'll have a good program or that you've got the commitment to have a good program. Jay Crowdhamel used to always say, the former athletic director at Syracuse, whom I knew very well and worked with. He said, well, it's not the market you're necessarily in. It's whether you can ultimately deliver that market and deliver quality competition. What you find is that it's a combination. You want teams that are going to be competitive, and I think these teams will be extremely competitive. Now, you mentioned, football success. It's critical. No one's going to argue that. It is. Football drives, most of expansion, and football is the foundation of an athletic department. Now, that's not to denigrate basketball in any way. I love basketball. I grew up as a college basketball fan as well as a college football fan, and college basketball will remain very important in this conference. We took Wichita, and Wichita's been a great addition because we wanted our basketball to be strong, and we've got some good basketball pedigree in this conference. But primarily, you have to look to football success to drive the success of your conference. That's how we got, the large TV deal. We had, I think, 200 games with 1 million or more viewers. Think about that. Who would have predicted that 9 years ago? We had, games with 4 and 5 million viewers. We had, 100 games probably with close to between 50 and 100 games with 2 million or more viewers in football. And we also provided a great basketball product. We had a Final Four team last year. We had a national championship in this conference. So we've provided great value to our media partner, but football success is important. Now, if you look at these schools, I believe all of them will be very successful, and they'll have varying levels of success. Not everyone's going to finish first every year in your conference. We've got some very good teams in the conference now. Another thing I think, Pete, that's worth mentioning, we're losing some schools that have really contributed to the conference, but you know what? They're not dynasties in that sense. We've had teams that have competed equally that are in the conference now and that are remaining in the conference, and they've done extremely well. They've done very well against these teams over the years. Teams, some of this is cyclical, but those teams had a commitment, but the teams that are in our league now have had and have a real commitment. Ren spoke to Memphis. Memphis hiring Justin Fuente and then hiring Mike Norvell and now Ryan Silverfield. And you look at the success they've had that they never had before. You look at the success Temple had under Matt Rule, and you look at the success other schools have had. It wasn't a guarantee, but I had a pretty good idea years ago that we'd be a lot better conference than people were giving us credit for. And, again, the P6 campaign is another example of we wanted schools that felt they could embrace that felt that they could, add to their budgets. They could pay their coaches in the range that we pay our coaches. And, it's at the high range that they could compete in our conference, that they would be, that they would come in desiring to win championships. That's the key, that they didn't want to just settle for being in the conference. And yes, they'll do financially, much better in this conference, and that'll help them. And by the way, it'll energize their fan base. I think, donations, I think their donors will be excited. I think attendance will be improved. When you look at Fort Worth, for example, we have a long-term deal with Dickies Arena in Fort Worth for our men's and women's basketball tournament. Think about that now. You've got a number of schools that can drive there. We're going to have a great basketball tournament there, and it's going to be very exciting. And it's that kind of thing that I think creates, cohesion and makes an imprint on the national consciousness. I think that, I'll close, Pete, by saying, look, things have shifted over the years. You can have some teams in very small markets that have national reputations. And again, East Carolina was one of the schools that wasn't in a huge market, but, obviously had national recognition for all the great football that it played. But on the other hand, the large markets have really meant a lot to us. We've been able to generate good TV ratings. We've been able to generate a lot of interest. You have a larger potential fan base. And our schools have always elevated their brands. This conference has been able to do that. And then part of it is, again, we do heavily promote the conference, but the promotion is because we've accomplished something. We don't promote things that we haven't done. And again, it's you take care of your success, and success builds on success. I think these schools were interested in joining us because, one, they saw a conference that, was cohesive. And even when there's disruption, they saw that, things are handled a certain way in this conference. I think they'll really enjoy, their presidents will enjoy dealing with our presidents, their presidents and chancellors. I think the ADs will all enjoy dealing with each other. It'll be very welcoming. That's how we operate. I don't think you won't see any kind of separation here. I think and that's important too. That's part of who we are as a conference. So a lot of reasons why you do things, and college athletics has changed dramatically over the years. We have seen more consolidation. We've seen bigger conferences. Remember, there were a lot of small 8-team regional conferences in the old days. And, we're a conference that, again, provides opportunity. We probably have a more regionalized footprint than we had. And we have now an identity that's developed over the last decade. And I think the identity will flourish in the coming decade. And that was the whole purpose of this. We want to put our conference in the best possible position. And I think we've done that.
Okay, we'll take the final question from Alan Collins from Fox 6 in Birmingham, please.
This question is for UAB AD Mark Ingram. Mr. Ingram, while not talking specific numbers, what is this move going to mean for UAB athletics financially going into the future, your recruitment, and reflect on your football team going from shutdown to where they are today?
Well, hey, Alan, it's good to see you again. Hope you're doing well. We feel like the move, as many people have said, is the opportunity to renew a lot of rivalries with people that we used to be well aligned with. I think Mike mentioned that a little while ago when asked about East Carolina. We're 2.5 hours away from Memphis and have had a tremendous rivalry with Memphis. Joe and Lisa talked about geography in the state of Texas, and most people may not realize this, but Birmingham, Alabama is basically the geographic center of the American Athletic Conference, and so that was important for us as well. And so the opportunity to be aligned with other great schools who have a shared vision as we do to first of all, focus on ourselves and be great and do all that we can to be great, represent our university was important to us. And we felt confident in Commissioner Aresco's vision and what that meant to us, and feel very, very positive about the opportunity moving forward.
Thank you, Mark. We've run over our allotted time, and we need to let the schools get back so they can do their own local availabilities. We appreciate the athletic directors joining us today. We appreciate Commissioner Aresco joining us, and also the members of the media for joining us. I apologize for those that we were not able to get to in the queue. Certainly, if we need to get to Commissioner Aresco, please shoot me a note. We'll do our best to, and I'm sure he'll be happy to accommodate any availabilities that we have. But thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Chuck,
everybody.
for organizing everything. Thank you. And thank you for the media who showed interest in us. And again, congratulations to our new schools. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Congrats, everybody.